We are setting up the 10 teams that will be fighting it out for the ICC Cricket World Cup. And today we look at the 1992 World Champions Pakistan. Joining me is Sri Lanka's 1996 World Cup winning coach Whatmore, who, remember, he's also been head coach of Pakistan. So he knows this Pakistan team and the Pakistan setup in and out. Dav, Mercurial bunch. The problem with Pakistan is we don't know which Pakistan is going to turn up. The good Pakistan or the bad Pakistan. And is that frustrating considering the talent they have?
Surely, you took the words out of my mouth. Which team is going to turn up? Depends on what side of the bed you get out of, I guess, on occasions. Yeah, it was frustrating. I've certainly experienced it at first hand. Certain games, wonderful performance, really terrific efforts. Yet other games, you think, gee, what's going on here, you know, and it just didn't turn up. So it is frustrating. You know, certainly the talent is there. The form guide at the moment is a little bit iffy.
Yeah.
But certainly, you know, you wouldn't want to play them and take it lightly either.
Because they have this knack of somehow waking up. And when they wake up, somebody's going out. Because we saw them, last T20 World Cup, almost on the verge of elimination, lost to India.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have lost that match, lost to Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
And they're playing the final. And I believe, had Shaheen Shah Afridi not been gone off injured, they could have won it.
Well, that's right. I mean, I personally feel that when the expectations are there for them to do well, that's when it becomes a little bit harder for them. But
why is that?
It's mental. Because I can tell you that when we did play India on a couple of occasions, the government of Pakistan declares a public holiday, so everybody can watch the game. You know, I'm really trying hard to take pressure off, yet there are certain people in the setup that puts pressure back on, you know, and that they're not too good to deal with that.
Okay, you spoke about their current form being iffy. At the start of September, heading into that Asia Cup, they were world number one.
Yeah.
That momentum's been punctured. Let's bring up the Pakistan squad and let's look at the sort of 15 who've been picked. And one change obviously has come in, but this is their top order, and this top order can do a lot of damage. In fact, Fakhar Zaman hasn't been getting the runs.
Dangerous.
But he's dangerous.
Yeah.
We saw that in the 2017 ICC Champions Trophy final. We know what class Babar Azam and Rizwan are. But Saud Shakil also sort of starting to up the ante. You know, he's not been very, been able to transfer it to ODIs. He's starting to do it now. Let's look at the all-rounders. Okay, the vice-captain Shadab Khan. There's Agha Salman, Mohammad Nawaz, Iftikhar. Okay, and then let's get to the bowlers, which is where Pakistan are very, very good. Shaheen Shah Afridi, Haris Rauf. They're missing, well, I think, big loss for them, Naseem Shah. Hassan Ali comes in. Wasim Jr. is there. And they've gotten Usama Mir as the leg spinner. Perhaps not a big vote of confidence for Shadab Khan there.
No, that's right. He's been brought up as a bit of a backup. Sadly, Shadab, who can be a decent bowler, but he's sadly out of form, and his confidence looks like he's taken an absolute beating. And so Osama Mir gets a chance. He may just also, take his place and play. But the all-rounders, I'm a little flattered to see one or two names in there as all-rounders. I just feel...
The bowlers who can bat.
Yeah, that's right. Iftikhar, good middle-order player and good finisher. Very, very solid early, but doesn't look for any big shots. Later on he does, and he bowls a little bit of off-spin. So, a little flattering. And that's their lack of spinners that's also been a problem for them.
Yes, because we saw Australia, we spoke of England, the depth which they have, there's something lacking here. It's very top-heavy in terms of the batting and the bowling. The pace bowlers are sorted. It's the middle which is a bit, soft underbelly, is the right word?
Well, yeah, I think so. It's that engine room. It's that engine that, between, 20 overs and 40 overs where you've got to continue to keep working the ball and look for your boundary options, hit the boundary when it comes along, when that ball comes along, and to continue to keep the pressure on. But It doesn't say. I think also Mohammad Rizwan plays a big part in this Pakistan team if they're going to win. You know,
he's solid. He's solid. What?
Very solid.
Right?
Yeah, he's a big, you know, busy player, and he can hit the big shots, but he has to be there for a while. So I think he's going to be very important to them. Babar Azam, obviously, as a top order player, good player. But his captaincy needs to improve a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. But when I look at this Pakistan squad, and I saw them at the Asia Cup, you look at them more closely in these tournaments, and because of bilateral series, you don't exactly get to know a lot. But it reminded me a lot of the way India were playing a couple of years ago. That's solid start, accumulate the runs, and then go for it. It may work at times, but there will be teams who trouble you. Do Pakistan then have a plan B to sort of fight back? I have my doubts there.
Well, yeah, maybe, but let's not forget they got 345 the other day as well in Hyderabad.
Still lost by 40
Well, they did lose, yeah. But you know, generally speaking, when you get 340 runs, you would expect, you know, for it to be a really close match at the worst. Okay, they got beaten badly, but normally 345, you would think, you know, it's more of a winning score than not. So they have the ability. But they need to be more consistent. Now that's that C word, you know, that they find difficult to come out with.
How big is the loss of Naseem Shah? I was really impressed by that kid. I saw him first time at the T20 World Cup, and even in the Asia Cup, that first game when they rattled India.
Yeah, anybody like that can hurry you up as a fast bowler to a batsman,
especially on those pitches.
Will be missed. Yeah, you know, 2 new balls, youth. Sheer pace, extreme pace. It's not a comfortable situation if you're a batsman. Now that he's out of that equation, he's not there anymore, so that puts a little bit more pressure on the other bowlers now to step up as well. And if Afridi can only bowl 10, and if you know, if he's going to bowl in different spells, which he would do, I would think, 3 minimum spells, so you know it's really incumbent on the others to step up and help out.
Okay, Dev, their fielding isn't the greatest.
No.
Okay, and you know that their big weapon is Shaheen Shah Afridi. But what happens, like what we saw in the Super 4 stage game when India were playing them, that Shubman Gill counter-attacked. What happens if, say, the opposition is 60 for no loss at the end of 10? Then Pakistan are in trouble.
Big trouble. Because we've seen that they have an inability to get through those middle overs and put pressure on the opposition. Particularly those spinners, you know, and they've had some decent spinners over the years. At the moment, you know, if they don't get wickets up front, then it's going to be a lot of hard work for the rest of the 50 overs with the attack that they have.
And is Babar Azam the right man for them as captain? Because you look at the great Pakistan captain, starting from the great Imran Khan, Wasim, Waqar, good bowlers, you know, and sort of even Inzamam, Misbah-ul Haq, I can rattle off names. With Babar, you get a feeling he's a great batter, but he lets the game drift.
In my experience with them, the captain needs to be a little bit older, you know, so he gets that respect that he's been through the mill. Babar Azam certainly gets that respect with the bat. His captaincy, you know, for that to flourish now, and needs to get the support. A lot of other, you know, older guys in the team, so he feels, you know, a lot better in himself. I'm sure that he does enlist the help of others. Certainly, Mohammad Rizwan behind the stumps is one that we'll always look to get some information from. But certainly, you know, getting respect from the rest of the team is extremely important, and the way you communicate with the others also very important.
Okay, big question, a big sort of problem they have to solve is, how do you use Shaheen Shah Afridi? You mentioned this earlier, I'm just going to get back to it. How does Babar use him knowing that, okay, he's got 5 overs from him at the top, and then the middle overs is an issue for them? So how do you attack teams, especially if suppose they've got off to a good start? See, if you're in a situation like Siraj, when he's bowling everyone out, great. But if he gets his 2 wickets and then the opposition is at 200 for 4 after say 30, then they're in trouble. So how does Babar use him?
Well, he has to be a little smart how he uses a wicket taker and a potential match winner. You need to have sufficient overs at the end for him to operate and to not only stem the flow of runs but also to pick up wickets, which he can do.
How would you use him?
Well, I would certainly give him the new one. And if
he's 5 or 4?
No, if he's getting wickets, if he's looking like he's getting a breakthrough, you would tend to give him an extra one. If he's getting wickets, I would go with certainly 1 or 2 more, because it's very important to open up the opposition top order. But certainly minimum three spells and possibly 4.
Interesting. But fast bowlers, they like to run in hard.
When you look to get a wicket, then you look who in your team is capable of doing that.
Yeah.
In Pakistan's case, he's certainly one.
Let's look at their fixtures, because they start off facing Netherlands and then Sri Lanka. That leads up to the India-Pakistan game. So in a way, that's a good warm-up. Remember, Sri Lanka did beat them at the Asia Cup.
Yeah.
But this is my problem with the Pakistan team. Listening to Babar before they left, he's already talking about the India-Pakistan game. Oh, I would love to play in Ahmedabad. I would love to play in front of 120,000 people. That tells me he's thinking of the occasion. He's not thinking of the task at hand, which is to beat India.
Perhaps, but
but they've been guilty of that in the past.
Sure, but
which India have learned to handle the occasion.
In my opinion, though, I think if he doesn't say that, then he's, he's more or less, admitting that, the occasion's too big, 120,000 people. So I think, to a certain degree, he needs to come out and say that we're not intimidated. Yeah. We're going to come out here, we're going to look forward to that game, and we're going to do well. So to a certain degree, that's not surprising to me.
Yeah, but when you were coach of Pakistan, and it's very rare to play India, but you've played a few games against India.
We toured in India, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. What do you think? How do they approach this? Is it all for them? Like, I know in India, you've moved on. You want to beat Pakistan, yes, but you want to win the bigger thing. In Pakistan, I still get a feeling we have to beat India come what may, and that's just the reason they haven't won a single game at a World Cup.
Surely, look, that definitely is still the case. As I mentioned earlier, any match that involves India as an opposition, it's really built up hugely in Pakistan. It is here as well in India, but more so there. And the expectation on those players to provide that victory is more times than not overwhelming. Too much for them. Okay,
you spoke about the C word, consistency. What is Pakistan's best case scenario at this World Cup? Is it bat first with this tried and tested format, put runs on the board, get around 300 if not more, and then trust your bowlers to do the job? It won't happen all the time because teams can figure you out. Like India got 350 against them, and then that slow block of them sort of accumulating runs and then trying to go for it never worked out.
No. Usually Pakistan are a better team when they bat first, no question. But when they are chasing, or even if they're trying to set a big total, it will come down to their tried and tested batters. Babar Azam, Mohammad Rizwan, Fakhar Rahman at the top of the order. Certainly, if he can make a contribution, makes it a little bit easier. Iftikhar Ahmed, he can finish. Not a bad player, quite a experienced guy. So it will come down to these batsmen. Whether you're chasing a total or setting a total, forget the total. Bat, just bat your 50 overs, and if you're chasing a big total, bat and see the job through, because if you get a start, you must go on.
Okay, I've always felt, and I could be wrong, but what I felt watching them is, because they're so mercurial, a 20-over game suits them the best because there's not too much time for them to commit harakiri. But a 50-over game is a long game, as you've been mentioning, 300 balls.
That's right.
Is that there will be phases when the opposition is on top? Yeah. Is that Pakistan's big problem? They don't know how to sort of pace themselves through that 50 overs.
I think there's some merit in what you're saying. I mean, these guys are a very powerful bunch of guys. They've had some good success in their domestic 2020, the PSL, and they fancy themselves in that format, and they're pretty good at it too. But when it comes to the 50-over game, you do need a little bit of smarts with it as well, and that's where some of them have got it. That's why I said Babar Azam, Rizwan, they need them to be able to engineer and get through that sort of middle phase where, if you lose wickets there, you're never going to win a game. You cannot lose wickets and win games of cricket.
Where do you think they'll finish? Can they? I thought before Asia Cup, seeing the way they were playing, they'll be in the semis.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure right now.
No, neither am I. I think that they can. I've gone on record on saying that they won't, but I think they could be one of. They could scrape in that 4 along with either Sri Lanka, South Africa,
New Zealand.
New Zealand, yeah. One of those teams could make way for them. But I didn't originally have them in that 4, but they could just sneak in there because if they had some sort of consistency over a 3 or 4 game, they could just get in there.
And you don't want to play them. You don't want to play them in the semi-final because you don't know which Pakistan turns up. But imagine if they go on to the final. Imagine winning the World Cup here in India. What a massive PR coup it would be.
It would be hugely, but I have my doubts.
Okay. On that note, we're not saying it. He's saying it. He's coached Pakistan. He knows which Pakistan could turn up. But as Dav said, consistency a big problem. We're going to keep this going. I love these conversations. They're very nice and sort of getting the insight from someone like a Dav who's coached at the highest level. Coach, so many teams are going to play this World Cup. You won a World Cup. So we'll keep this going. We have 7 other teams to discuss. And WION World of Cricket will have all teams covered. Right through the World Cup, right through the 50 days. Coming up, Dav is going to be here. I'm going to be here. The WION Sports team is going to be putting out content for you. So keep watching WION World of Cricket.